Okay, and we are live. Welcome, Luke. How
What
is
is
it going,
cooking,
my
my
friend?
man?
A lot
I'm
of things
good,
going
dude.
on. A lot of things going on. I saw in the news. Now you're in Texas, and I'm
Hmm.
seeing in the news that Texas is going through a real estate correction. Like in some areas, prices are down, have gone down very rapidly, upwards of 20% or more. Is that? I mean, you're in that Austin area. Is that
Yeah.
true?
Um, it's true for me personally. And I would say that that 20% is pretty spot on. I
Wow.
mean, from my own personal residence. So, um, you know, it's but just like everywhere else, we had quite a rise for that time.
So why is it that you think that Southern California, we also have a reduction in inventory, just like you guys, but our
Hmm.
prices they haven't. They're still, we're
Still
still getting
stable.
multiple. Here's the thing, um, inventory is down, but yet buyer demand here is still up. So you're still getting somewhat of a multiple offer scenario. You're
Right.
not getting those crazy bids over and over and over and over, but staying steady. But did Austin just overbuild significantly?
No, I don't. I think there's if I was to put a pin on it or to look at it, I would say that there's probably still more demand in Southern California versus Austin, which I mean there is not, at least where I'm at, there's not a ton of you know new builds or inventory or anything like that. So, I mean, there's really, only one other component to that calculation that's demand. So, um, just more people love that Southern California sunshine, man.
Well, it's not like you guys don't have a lack of sunshine. I also saw that this weekend, or maybe you guys are going through this heat wave where you're going to have some rolling blackouts. Is that in your area that you're concerned
Um,
about that?
Not in my immediate area, or I mean, I think I'm somewhat insulated that just for my zip code, but um, yeah, it's definitely. I mean, it's freaking hot. I think my kiddos' sports games got canceled tonight. Or it's like 106, 107 or something
Oh my
to be
gosh.
expected. Yeah, it's not. It's no joke. It's making me rethink living in Texas.
Well, I remember when you moved there, it took you a year or two to acclimate, and you're like,
Yeah,
man, it's hot. And what? It's been like, God, you've been there, what, 7 years? Something like
six
that?
years, a little over 6 years now. And it wasn't necessarily the heat that got me. It was in coming from Southern California, it was actually the cold in Texas that I wasn't anticipating. That was like, I was like, I knew I was signing up for the heat, but I didn't realize it got cold here too in the winter. Um, so I realized I took the Southern California weather for granted
For granted.
significantly. That sunny and 70 year round is hard to beat.
So, taking that into consideration, the big thing about people talking about moving to Texas um, is the cost savings, the price of the cost of living and such. Do
Yeah.
you, now that you've been there for 6 years and you lived here for longer than that, do you see a massive difference as far as look, real estate is real estate. You're gonna
Yeah.
for the amount that you pay there versus if you paid the same amount here, you're just gonna get a smaller house and a patio this big.
Right.
But that's kind of the norm for Southern California. But we also have that year-round sunshine, and it's typically you don't get much higher than the low 80s.
Right.
Um, but do you see a big difference being living in both areas?
So I mean, there's definitely there's definitely things where I noticed, and I think it has more to do with more than anything probably your individual's income level. And not paying the 13% state tax, right? I moved to moving to from California to Texas, you essentially get a free house or a free whatever instantly just by
Over how
doing
much
that.
time though? How long of a when do
Well,
you hit that
that's
break
in
even point? So if it's 13%,
uh
that means what, in 6 years? No, that's 60%. So it'd be like 8 years.
no, well, I mean you're talking about like you think about you're instantly wiping out like any mortgage payment that you're making.
Well,
Um
13%. The What I've read is that the average house payment now is approaching the housing expense, I should say, the
yeah,
roof over your head is approaching 50% of people's income.
right.
So, um, I mean, that would break it
Well,
down to 38, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah, so again, it's like, just it's going to have to do with like your income level. Obviously, 13% of $1 million is a significant chunk of change compared to 13% of
Fair.
50,000. So
Everything's
for
relative.
yeah, so for me, um, and where I fall, it was
It made
that's
sense.
it's not insignificant. Now, one thing I will say that uh, I, in California, I can't go get 4 bell peppers for $1 anymore. The peppers are $3 a pop here.
Well,
There's
that's
not a
because
mountain
you
of
knew where to shop. You knew where to
avocado.
shop in
there's
Southern
not a
California.
there's not a mountain of avocados when I walk in the store that are if the season's right, they're three for $1 or whatever.
Well, I believe that Southern or California, I should say, provides, if my memory serves me correct, and you always when we do these podcasts, we have to always throw out these disclosures because if you say something wrong, people will let you know. I
Yeah.
believe that California provides 70, perhaps even 80% of the agriculture for the United States and Canada.
And
That's
I
what
think
if I remember
I
correctly.
think that is accurate. And I'm not sure it's and Canada. I think that might be the missing component, but that might be worth something to look up. But yeah, it's significant. It is not a so
I'm gonna
there's
look. We have that new
there's there
feature. We have a new feature now.
there's a geographical you know you don't have to ship stuff across the country. The one thing I was surprised living here is that I kind of expected beef to be cheap or cheaper.
You would think.
And you would think, I mean, just logically, it's like Texas. You think cows, and ranches and this and that, but that was not the case either.
It's so
Still more expensive
overall from a
overall.
cost point at your current level with your household, would you, hindsight being 2020, would you have gone just for the financial component? Family dynamics aside.
Family dynamics aside, um, it would still make sense, but weather-wise, that's another
That's
thing.
always going to be the factor,
Yeah.
right? That's always going to be the factor. Okay, so this is what I came across on the Google search. On Let's go ahead and switch screens here. Oops. Okay, so half of all fruits and vegetables grown in the United States come from California, and the state effectively produces at least 99% of America's almonds, pistachios, pomegranates, and walnuts. California is also the nation's leading power of lima beans, lemons, kumquats, never had a kumquat, raspberries, strawberries, and spinach. So that was based off of this California local. So there you have it. I did not know 99% of almonds. I eat almonds,
Yeah,
pistachios, pomegranates, and walnuts. I would imagine that somewhere in here, oranges are somewhere in here.
right.
And but that's interesting. Those are fun facts.
That's those are some, pretty significant statistics. 50% of everything is that's a lot.
But to your point, I can go to not to the major grocery stores, the local neighborhood ones
Yeah.
um, that are owned, but these national chains, they tend to be quite more expensive. But I can go, depending on the year, and I can get uh, a 5 pound bag of oranges for like $2.
Right.
Definitely don't have. I definitely don't. We now my wife knows more, but we don't pay $3 per bell pepper. There are places that charge that, Whole Foods,
Right.
but there are some local places that are still decent in size that you're getting them for probably, I don't know, $2 a pound. So yeah, I agree. I can't speak to the whole beef side of things. We did end up going to Fleming's for dinner last week, and of course that's always going to be more than what you do at the grocery store. Okay, so enough about finances. Let's transition over
Yeah.
into kind of real estate. I have this article that came up with Housing Wire that says, let's go ahead and move over to that. With rates as high as 22-year high, the $3,000 monthly mortgage payment becomes the norm. The average P&I payment in July for a 30-year fixed rate mortgage was $2306. Now, P&I, principal and interest, taxes and insurance, those are two variables. A lot of people talk
Hmm.
about getting into home ownership. Look, home ownership's expensive. Yes, you get that fixed interest rate. Yes, your principal and interest doesn't change if you get that 30-year fixed mortgage. But the variables that ultimately nail you is, number one is upkeep of the house.
Yeah.
Number two is taxes are going up in a lot of municipalities. And number three, insurance. I read an article recently that insurance has gone up 30%, or excuse me, 20%, like year over year. Again, that's my memory. That number may or may not be accurate for somebody's local area, but the point is that those are variables that continue to go up that people actually have to
Right.
pay for. At the same time, while the number does show that the overall income level is going up slightly for people, it's really not staying in tune with inflation, and the number of hours are going down. So we have prices going up, we have hours going down, we have costs going up, not just on taxes and insurance, but then we just talked about food and about how that's all going up. So relating that into real estate, I saw a report that NAR is noticing a decrease in memberships. People aren't renewing. The volume, the inventory's gone down to such a significant level that
Hmm.
not as many units are closing. So therefore,
Right.
that pie, the number of people sitting at the table for their piece of pie, the pie shrunk. And some people aren't getting their piece. Some people are at the end of the line and just not getting their piece of the pie. So I
Yeah.
guess the
100%.
question that maybe what I propose is what we talk about is, how do real estate agents succeed in such an environment? Now, I have some thoughts. Love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I read this week as well, and there is definitely a huge correlation there. But for the mortgage people, at the peak, I want to say 2021, there was 179,000, and this is not including bank, people who work at banks, but 179 independent mortgage individuals, down to in the like 99,000 through Q1 and through Q2, and expected to be closer to 80,000, like on track for Q3, Q4. So that's a right off the top 50% haircut to the entire. So
Yeah,
there's
we had this
definitely,
many, just to do illustrative purposes. We had this many. This is about the width, and now it's like this,
so we're
50%.
here. So we're
We're
here.
here.
Now
We're
we're
not done
here.
here.
um, so yeah, but I think for a lot of people that that are able to to get through this and focus on some core fundamentals, um that are timeless, and that's reaching out to your database, staying active on social. And we always circle back to this, like, lead generation and stuff that you got to be prospecting, got to do that work daily, and stay active. But um, yeah, it's the pie has, the pie has, but also the same goes for the amount of people that are eating off the pie.
No, that's true. So I had a real estate agent. I was speaking to one, and we were kind of talking about this subject. It's kind of a top subject, and talking about there are some who are still very bullish on the real estate market. Now rightfully so, they might be right, but there's also some people who are very bearish on it as well. And
Right.
the interesting thing is that they might be right as well. So we look at this, and it's like, is everything sunshine and rainbows, and everything's going to be okay, and we're going to see prices continue to go? In your area, I think that's proven to be untrue, but overall, that's kind of the consensus. But then on the other side of the coin, they're like, nope, going through a correction, things are going to get really, really bad. Fasten your seatbelt, keep your arms in, get ready because it's going to be gnarly. But here's the thing: is that both of them, both of them can't be right. So one of them is going to be more right than the other, and it's going to be up to somebody to adjust their business for it. But when I was talking to a real estate agent on this, I said, look, I understand your concern, and I totally get it. I said, but I don't suggest that people really focus a lot on things that are out of their control. And I
Right.
said, regardless of what's happening, whether one is right, one is wrong, maybe they're both kind of right, is that going to have any effect on what you're going to do as a profession? And he looked at me and he goes, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if the market stays good, are you staying? If the market stays where it's at, are you staying in business? And if the market changes for the worse, are you getting out of the business? And he goes, no, this is what I do. I said, okay, well, if what happens to the market doesn't matter, then the only thing that you're in control of is what you do about the market changes that matter. And you're a
Hmm.
business, being in business, you now have to gather the information that's in front of you, and you need to make a calculated business decision. What are you going to do? What we know, especially in where you live, if you do the same thing today that you did in the last 12 months or 24 months, then based on the numbers that you just shared with me, that person's business is going to be off by at least 20%.
Yeah.
So they're either going to have to adjust their business to increase 20% leads, or they're going to have to increase their efficiencies by 20%. That 20%, and that's just to break even. My Lord, if you want to
Hmm.
actually be profitable, let's say you want to have a 10% gain profitability over year, now that
Right.
20% efficiency, that 20% increase, now you need to do 30% or 40%, whatever that number may be. And that makes sense to people, but then the next question comes, well, what do I do? And
Yeah.
you're going to love this because you and I talk about this all the time. I was like, well, I said, lead generation solves all problems. And then I just left it at that. Lead generation solves all problems. I said, you need to focus on, don't worry about converting. You always want to worry about converting. But what we have talked about in the past is that it's better to have an overabundance amount of leads, and therefore you're not so up against the wall with your lead conversion. If you only have one
Right.
source of leads, and a lot of people go traditional, a lot of people are still focusing on, hey, my business is down, I need to grind harder. I need to knock on more doors, I need to harass more people by phone. There's a lot of lawsuits out there. There's a lot of data. I think from a personal point of view, I think it's fair to say that most people don't like being called if they don't know who you are. I don't know, but
Yeah.
but most but that's the thing. My business is down. I need to grind harder, as opposed to I just need to figure out more sources of lead generation. And we've talked about it on here,
Right.
right? What do you think is the number one form of lead generation right now?
Um, right now, I mean, and this is just kind of my world, but I would tend to agents going to be some sort of organic social media. Um, and I might be a little bit biased in that because that's, kind of where I spend, a lot of my time. Um, but I do know that a good subset of people is just that, traditional grind, circle prospecting type stuff where it's just, calling and,
Dialing
doing,
for dollars.
dialing for dollars. Um, which, I think there's most people aren't in both camps, but the ones that are really doing well are.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because this is your space, and I actually agree with you. I think that the modern consumer's journey, I think the way the behavior patterns, the things that we do have changed, probably most in the last decade and a half than in the prior 50 years, I think, because technology continues to advance much more rapidly. And now we have AI, and that's going to cause things to evolve even more rapidly. I was listening to a podcast, and then I'll come back on subject. Um, is that I every now and then you get these brilliant minds. We have Elon Musk right now. We had Einstein. We had Tesla. We had all these brilliant minds, but they don't come up in a large frequency, right? Every
Hmm.
100 years or so, you get these just massive brilliant minds. And now with the invention of AI, it's now you have that kind of we've modeled that brilliant mind, and
Mm,
the amount of increase. It's going to be interesting to see the evolution of our society and our behaviors from an AI standpoint, kind of going forward now.
right.
But coming back onto this on lead generation is number one, lead generation solves all problems. Number two, you were talking about social media and or organic strategy. Question I have for you, uh, agent, trying to figure something out. Haven't that everybody does a little bit of dabble on social media, whether it works or not. Kind of the next question. But if they had a plan that you've worked on for several years, and they had an
Hmm.
organic strategy from starting at zero, starting today, what kind of results could they do in the next 30, 60, 90 days, in your opinion?
It could be life changing for a lot of people because especially newer folks, just getting one extra deal a month, could mean the
Yeah,
difference between staying in business and being out of the business. So first and foremost, it's like don't be a secret agent. Like if somebody doesn't know what you do, they can't do business with you. And you always hit on that where would I rather be good or well known, and
popular.
the
Yeah, would you rather be popular or
popular
good?
popular good, and it's the popular person so you know just the simple fact of just letting people know you do what you do, and but doing it in that fine line of like not being annoying about it, um where you don't have to be, just you could, for a lot of folks, this process of like just kind of documenting what they're doing, especially if they're new, getting started, where people are rooting for you, and you get those people who are like, you know what, I like that. I'm gonna work with that person. They're getting going. Like they want to see a win. Um, and even on the higher side, where you're, maybe you're established in the business, where you're talking about or sharing about like what you're working on right now, and it could be growing a team or weathering the storm, or kind of getting along with where the market is, and providing like your expertise, your experience to it. Um, so just it could mean all the difference in the world. Then I mean, what's the alternative?
You're
Ha-
right. And one of the things that you've often heard me say is that right now, and like when I'm talking, so I'm going to Florida. I have to do the red eye this month, and I'm going to be speaking in front of a lot of top agents on the eastern side of the United States. I think there's going to be a few hundred in the room.
Nice.
But typically, what I say in an audience, I'm like, raise your hand if you think that within a 5 mile radius of where you live, that there's somebody who's at least thinking, just thinking about selling their home, maybe buying their home. But let's be honest. The people who have the listings are the ones who control the market. And given all this stuff right now from a legal perspective on NAR and the whole buyer thing, who knows what the buyer agency is going to look like? So you want longevity?
Right.
It's always been the case. Focus on listings. My public
List to
service
last.
announcement. This has been a public service announcement by Brett Matsura. Thank you. Coming back onto this. But a lot of people raise their hand. Now, a lot of people don't raise their hand because they're not really paying attention. But the people who are paying attention to, yeah, somebody's thinking about it. And then I say, well, there is a 100% probability that if that person does not know that you exist, that you're not taking that listing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you might be the best person for them. You might have memorized the purchase agreement. You might be the best real estate agent on planet Earth. But if somebody doesn't know that, then it doesn't matter how good you are. And so that's where the premise of I'd rather be popular than be good if I had the choice. Now, I say that you needed to be both. You need to spend time on working on be popular, and you need to spend time on your trade to be good. But I think a lot of real estate agents, they don't understand is that you're not in the business to sell houses. That is your means. You're a sales professional. That just happens to be the service that you provide. Salespeople are in the business of lead generation, right? That's what they're business to. And if I would say that if any business, I'm taking this from Dan Kennedy, is that the worst number in business is the number one of anything. If you only have one lead generation source, if you only have one lead, if you only have one this or that, then you're in a pretty bad situation because that one thing, if all you're doing is relying on, say, referral business, well, your referral business is going to, the volume of the referral business that you're going to get over an annualized time is now reduced by a factor of 50%, which means that your business is reduced by a factor of 50%. Interestingly, typically people's expenses don't adjust with the factor of their incomes. So I would say that given what you had just said in regards to social media, knowing that most people, when a stimulus enters their mind, they start searching online, is that they need to have that social awareness. They need to have an organic strategy. They need to have a paid strategy. They need to have a YouTube page. They need to create content, allow people to get to know them, like them, trust them. But then they also need a lead magnet. What kind of lead magnet do you think that, at a minimum, what kind of lead magnet do you think that every real estate agent should have?
I always go to this because it's the simplest to deploy for everybody, and it's just a list of homes. And you don't need to create or make any of that except for to have a landing page, and then you're manually going to get that list of homes for them.
Well, that's interesting.
And it creates a conversation topic, and it creates a fact finding mission. It creates that process of, hey, I want to know what you're looking for so I can get this list of homes for you. And it's you already have access to the resources to be able to provide that, with your uh, you know
Most
with
CRMs.
with most CRMs, most broker things that come with your company.
So from a very minimalistic standpoint, number one, you need a landing page. A landing page is nothing more than maybe a picture of a house, maybe a picture of a subdivision, a paragraph, get your free list of homes, 3 bedroom.
Brett, I don't know if it's me, but I think you're cutting out on. I got
Okay, can you hear me now?
breaker 19.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah.
He's back.
Yeah. So I have a wireless lapel mic, so it ran out of juice, which is weird because it's also plugged in. So don't know what's going on with that. I think it's plugged in. Um, no, it's not plugged
So,
in. Oh, there it is.
sometime.
It's plugged in now.
There we go.
Um, but I don't even know where I was going with that.
You
I
know,
was talking
we
about a
were talking
landing
about the
page.
lead
Yeah.
magnet and landing page. And the landing pages or lead magnets, they can be customized to where you're at. So this could be like a list of pool homes, or a list of gated, homes in a gated community, or a list of, homes under a median amount, for the local market. A list of homes inside of school district, just for some specific examples of list of homes. So
How would you promote that? So you get your landing page. It has a simple fill out portion. Name and email,
yeah.
and somebody comes in. They can get the list, but how do they promote the landing page? What's the best way to do that?
So for me, Facebook and Instagram have always been, the best go to, lowest cost. But also just, on your personal profiles, your personal Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you can have some sort of like link in bio. And you can promote that, organically. um, they do really well in paid environments as well, through paid ads, as well as probably one of the best bang for your buck type of ad, is just marketing existing properties, like what's on the market. um,
Okay.
so
Well,
it's
and
kind of
that
like
that
a,
would be
a
good,
gated info.
and that would be good to get buyer leads. People who are looking to buy in there.
Yeah.
I would say if somebody's looking to get seller leads, then come up with a attention Austin homeowners, attention Irvine homeowners, free report how to sell your home for top dollar, even in a high interest rate environment, something like that, and then get them to download their free report. They're going to trade their information for that, and then you could send it manually, or you could send it automated. I would say for anyone who's maybe newer to it, don't worry about building out this full automation just yet. Just I think I can't remember what is it, Luke. Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
So get the report done, get the landing page up, do the stuff manually until you actually get so many leads that you actually have to throw in automation. But let's worry about getting that first and second and third lead. And I would say that, look, if you spend $1 a day on like Facebook and Instagram ads, just in a 5 mile radius, just over. Actually, I think you have to do a 15 mile radius on Facebook and
Yep.
Instagram. If you just spend $1 a day, what, 31 bucks a month? It's you're going to get something out of it. You're either going to get something out of it, and that something is you're going to get knowledge. You might not get any leads for it, and you might have to tweak it until you do get your first lead. But you should be able to scale from there. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, um, there's no lack of people online, and there's no lack of people that respond to ads. Even at $5 a day, you're getting, most internet leads right now. And I usually budget this. It's like for every $100,000 average price in your market, that's what you should expect to spend to generate a lead online on Facebook. So if the average price of your homes are $500,000, you should expect to spend $5 to get a lead. And statistically, internet leads are going to convert about 2%. So the math works out perfectly. I mean, it works out great, but most folks have, that's where the follow up and the automation, the process, and the AI bots come in, is helping convert those leads to paid transactions.
Well, and interestingly, it comes down to what your average price point is too. If you're
Mhm.
in Southern California and you sell $1 million property, you get a several tens of thousands of dollars in commission income. Um, take some of that. You could probably and you take $1,000 a month and you throw that into your business and you're into it $12,000 a year. Your break even point is less than one, less
Oh
than
yeah,
one transaction. And
yeah.
if you were to do something like that, invest in that. Now the key is the follow up. That's where I think, and we're here at time, but maybe we can talk about that as a follow up sequence next time. Is that number one, you need to have multiple lead generation sources, but that's not good enough. You need to have a follow up and conversion sequence because otherwise, if you're spending all this time, effort, and resources to generate leads and you're not doing anything with them, I know, Luke, you said that the people that you work with, that's the number one thing. It's not generating the leads, it's getting them to follow up and work and convert those leads. Maybe we'll talk about that next go round. So we're at time. Luke, any famous parting last words?
Let's get it.
All right, well, stay on, Luke. Guys, we will see you next week.
Rock and roll.